So what state park am I looking at?
Oh, that's a good question, Julianne.
Oh, this is pulled from the PowerPoint photo option. So I do not know, actually. It's probably, it may not even be California.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's a stock photo, huh?
Yes, it's a stock photo.
It's very pretty. It's very inviting.
It is. I thought it was fitting for
Yes,
today.
absolutely. It is. Regardless where it is, it's very, very
Yes.
fitting. So the reason I mentioned that I have a new puppy is that occasionally he sees and hears things that I don't hear and see. So you may hear a very loud bark, and I'll try to mute if I can.
No worries.
I've gotten used to dogs and kids and animals. It's the nature of remote working nowadays.
Yep.
Yes, it is.
What kind of puppy is it?
He's a Doberman.
Oh, lovely.
He's my third one. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
My first one passed at 11, which is about, the high end. And my last one, he was almost 13.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, he surpassed all of his friends. I see Noelle and Sammy are on with us. That's great.
Hi.
Yeah, good
Hi.
morning.
Hi, Marianne. How are you?
I'm doing much better than last time.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you got your new puppers. That'll
Yeah.
be a nice thing.
Yeah, he's very sweet. As a matter of fact, he's laying at my feet right now.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's very sweet.
yeah. So I just sent back the signed contract with Victoria, so she's officially on board.
Oh, great. That's good to hear. I'm so glad that everything's worked out.
I know. I'm excited.
Good, good, good.
It's like we only have one board member so far.
Yeah.
We're missing John.
Missing John and Amy.
Oh.
Well, bonus points for you, Marianne, for being on time and
How
being the
about
first
that?
one in.
Yeah. I get the gold star for the day, huh?
You always have the gold star.
Good morning, Amy. Thanks for joining us. It's nice to see you.
Good to be here.
We're just waiting on a few more folks to join so we can have our quorum.
Well, let me ask you a question because I was just having internet issues, so I logged off, but I logged on with a different link because Bruce and John Mercurio and someone else that I don't remember, I think are on a different link.
Oh,
The one Richard sent out this morning.
Yeah.
oh, that shouldn't be different. That's weird.
Um,
Maybe it's from the old meeting.
So let me log off and tell them to log on with a different link.
Okay. I don't mind going in and doing it too if you want to stay here. Oh, she's already gone. I even checked that link too. Weird. Well, mystery solved.
Yeah. Which link did you use, Marianne?
I used the one that you sent because it was easiest to find because it was right on top.
Okay, that's weird.
That's
Yeah.
really weird. Scott, did you just try calling me? This is Nikki. Oh, you're on mute.
I think John was trying to call you, but Amy figured out that 4 of us were over on the wrong link that was sent out most recently, but I think we're headed over.
And there's John. Great. Okay.
Oh, okay, there we are. Okay.
Sorry about the mix-up. The one I sent out this morning, some of you were able to access it. I know that Marianne was able to use that link to get in, but I don't know what's going on. Technical difficulties, obviously. So thank you so much for being here today.
Just 1 second, Richard,
Yes.
Bruce didn't get on, so if
Okay.
Nikki, can you send him the link or do you want me to send him the link? Okay, thanks.
I can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, send the link out again. So, what happened? What was the deal with that fire thing? Was that just a false alarm or?
No, it was it was conveniently on the first day where we were supposed to impose 2 days a week in the office, and it just came out of nowhere. They typically do that like quarterly or semi-quarterly to just make sure everybody knows where they're going, and not very many people did.
So it was a drill?
Yes,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
But to be fair, we did not know that at the time.
right. No, we didn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's like, let's have a drill and to hell with everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have Mary Ann on. I see.
Hi, John. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing? Did you get through some of those issues you had going on?
Yes, I
Good.
did. The only thing that's not done is the repair to the pool. And I found out that the gal had the wrong email, so she had emailed me, but obviously I didn't get it. So I'm still gonna have to wait probably, I don't know how long to get the pool repaired. The pool's usable, it's just the spa that's plugged and can't be used because, you know, the water circulates from the spa into the pool. And then when it does that, it causes you know, there's a big leak under the concrete.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, good. Well, I mean, that's the silver lining. The silver lining for us getting thrown out of our meeting was that we have you and Scott Bartlebaugh now that we wouldn't have really had with us. So are there, I don't know if there's any anybody missing or not. But you know, maybe we have a full crew.
Isn't Jerry Grabo still on the committee? I don't see him.
Who's that?
Jerry Grabo? He may not be on the committee anymore, but I thought he was.
You know, to be honest, I'm not even sure who's on. So when we do the roll call, I was gonna ask Richard to do that for me because I know we don't have Bob anymore. That's a loss, but
Jerry was responding to the emails.
oh, about this meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 'cause I want to say the only one who's dropped off was Bob,
Okay.
and I think everybody else has been the same.
Okay. So are we ready to start then? I mean, is this going to be it?
Nikki, is this it, Nikki?
I believe so. I just sent you the link to make sure it goes over to Jerry as well. But I resent it all to everybody else. But we should be good to go. Mhm.
Okay. Why don't we go ahead and start the meeting then at 10:15? And I'm starting the meeting at 10:15. And Nikki's muted.
Too many screens. Couldn't get to my
Yeah.
mouse. Yes, we're ready. We're gonna put up the agenda in a second. Julianne's working on that. And well, we're gonna start with roll call. And John, you had asked Richard to do it for you. So Richard, you are in charge of the roll call.
me see here. Okay, we have John Mercurio.
Yeah, yes.
Amy,
Here.
Mary Ann,
Here.
Bruce,
Yes,
and then our newest member, Scott.
Here.
And Jerry, I just sent him the link, and hopefully he'll be able to join us in session.
Okay, are we going to introduce all the staff
Staff,
that we have?
yes.
And then I'm gonna double back after that and ask Scott to give us a little bit, because he's the new guy here. He's got a very interesting history and experience. So yeah, but let's go ahead and get the introductions out of the way here.
Okay, Madeline. Noel.
And could we also have them identify like what section, division,
sure.
whatever that really helps us a lot, because there's
Okay.
a pretty good number of you folks there.
Okay. Noel.
Hi, good morning. I think a lot of you know me. I'm Noelle Breitenbach. I'm the Statewide Trails Manager in Strategic Planning and Recreation Services Division.
Okay.
Madeline.
I'm the OHV RTP grant administrator.
Thank you, Madeline. Let me see here. Desiree.
Sorry, I'm Desiree Fox. I'm with Caltrans headquarters in the Division of Local Assistance.
Thank you. Nikki.
Hello, I am Nikki Lambert. I am the new State Trail Administrator, and I'm with the Office of Grants and Local Services as a supervisor on the competitive review team. Thanks for being here, everybody. It's nice to see you all.
Ethan.
Hey, I'm Ethan Mathis with the Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Division.
Sammy.
Hey everyone, Sammy Reyes. I'm a Park and Recreation Specialist with Strategic Planning and Recreation Services Division.
Julianne.
Hello, my name's Julianne. I'm the lead RTP project officer on the non-motorized section with the Office of Grants and Local Services under the competitive review team. Thank you for joining us today.
Alfred.
Thank you, Richard. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Afrit Sarkar. I am the Active Transportation Program Coordinator at the Division of Local Assistance in Caltrans. Thank you.
Matt.
Hi, my name is Matt Wamond. I am the Compliance Supervisor with the OHMBR Division, and I work with Maddie on the motorized grants for RTP.
And hello, everyone. My name is Richard Rendon, and I am the Chief of the Office of Grants and Local Services. Thank you very much for joining us today. And I think that kind of rounds out our crew who will be presenting today. So, John, back to you.
Yes, thank you. I would like to introduce Scott Bartlebaugh. He's an East Bay resident like I am. But Scott, go ahead and just give us a little bit of what your background is.
Scott Bartlebaugh, glad to be here. I live in Crockett in Contra Costa County. We're on the south side of the I-80 bridge across from Vallejo. I'm the advocacy director for Bicycle Trails Council of the East Bay. I've been in that role about 3.5 years. Land managers that I tend to interface with include East Bay Regional Park District, and that's where John and I have crossed paths and got to know each other. Bicycle Trails Council of East Bay also works with City of Oakland, John Muir Land Trust, East Bay Municipal Utility District. Through my work with Bicycle Trails Council of the East Bay, I'm our lead trail steward at Crockett Hills Regional Park, which is the East Bay Regional Park District Park. I participated on the East Bay Regional Park District Trail User Working Group, which was delving heavily into trails and user conflict and barriers to getting more trails built in the park district. I'm a member of the John Muir Land Trust Stewardship Committee. So some of that is related to trails, some of that is more conservation related. Bicycle Trails Council of the East Bay is one of 35 member organizations of the California Mountain Bike Coalition. I serve as one of our 2 members on the CAMTB Advisory Council representing Bicycle Trails Council of the East Bay. So they're heavily into trails as well, along with bike access. Let's see. The last 4 or 5 years, I've been a regular attendee at California Trails and Greenways. This past year up at Tahoe, I was a presenter with East Bay Regional Park District on a session on their Brownies pilot program. And I was nominated by East Bay Regional Park District for a Trail Champion Award and was chosen to receive that. Additionally, I volunteer on the trail program at Wente Scout Reservation, which is a Boy Scout camp near Willits. And I usually spend 2 to 3 weeks a year up there working on trails on their system. So I'm kind of a student of trails. I recognize that trails are for a variety of users, and each trail needs to be designed and managed for the desired users. And there's lots of different ways to look at trails. And I think some areas of the state do better at managing the multiple user groups. And I think there are more accepting and sharing cultures in different pockets of the state. And then other areas are a little more challenged. So trying to find solutions to that. And then our RTP is interesting in that it takes buckets of monies to get new trails built and to keep trails maintained. So learning more about that is highly interesting to me, and learning how that works and how to participate. So,
well, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Glad to be.
Yes, Scott. We appreciate. I'm sure I can speak for everybody. We appreciate you stepping up and being willing to serve. But as you mentioned, and I'll second that, the whole bit about, you learn a lot when you serve on this committee. You get a view of the entire state of California, and you get a view of the OHV aspect of it. And that's really important to know about that too. So, you're going to be a lot more familiar with what's going on in the state, having been on this committee. So again, thanks for stepping up. And then I guess the next item is Richard, about member roles and responsibilities.
Yes, thank you, John. So I think this gives a good segue from Scott's thing to kind of let them know that the roles and responsibilities of the Recreational Trails Program Advisory Board is one that is required in the Rec Trails legislation to establish an advisory board that is comprised of both motorized and non-motorized recreational trail users. And we are to meet no less than once per year. And this is a requirement of the federal legislation in order for us to be eligible for the $5.7 million that comes California's way. The role of the board is to collaborate, provide insights and advice based on the information provided by staff today from both state parks and from Caltrans. So with that, I think that's pretty much all I had to say about that, John. So I think we could go ahead and go into our next item.
Yeah, the next item is the election of officers. Officers are, if I recall correctly, chair and vice chair.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna need a motion for, start with chair. We're gonna need a motion for chair. I can say that I'd be willing to serve again. So we just need a motion. But if anybody else has a burning desire, we can take it that way too. So
I make a motion to ask John Mercurio to continue as board chair.
I'll
And
second
do
the
we have a
motion.
second?
Yeah,
Is that
Mary Ann, I'll
Mary Ann?
second it. Mhm.
Mary Ann second, okay, thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very cool. Okay, thank you. I will continue. Appreciate the vote. And now for vice chair, do we have let's see, is it Amy that's the vice chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I'd
would you
be happy to serve in that position again.
Okay, so do we have a motion for vice chair?
I'll make a motion for Amy to serve as vice chair.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Scott is second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. And opposed? That carries unanimously as well. All right. Can't say
Thank
we
you,
don't have
everyone.
stability on this group. All right. So that now we move to Richard's item for an informational item about legislative items. This is always interesting.
Yes. So right now, there really is no legislative items of interest other than just restating the obvious that we are still under the bipartisan infrastructure law of 2021, which reauthorized the recreational trails program from federal fiscal year 2022 through federal fiscal year 2026. The funding remains static at the levels of the 2009 apportionment, which was roughly about $5.7 million for California. And the breakdown of funding is as follows: 40% is administered by the Caltrans, so roughly about $2.3 million goes to Caltrans for their active transportation. The remaining 60% of those funds, which is about 3.4 million, is split evenly between the Office of Grants and Local Services for non-motorized trails, and the other half goes to our off-highway motor vehicle recreation division for OHV purposes. And so that's all I have for the legislative items of interest. I can go ahead and pass it over to Nikki now, who will talk about non-motorized rec trails updates.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. It's always kind of nice when we don't have too many legislative updates, but like John, I find them very interesting when they do pop up. So yes, the Office of Grants and Local Services, we do the non-motorized program. We have recently combined from the competitive team and our administrative team are now all one. So as we say, we now do this project cradle to the grave. It's all in my shop. So we're going to start with basic introduction and a background. Go back to that first slide, Julianne. Sorry. Julianne is running our show behind the scenes, everybody, just so you know, and she's working on one screen, so bear with her. You're good, Julianne? All right. Perfect. All right.
Okay.
So next slide, please. So a little background here, like Richard said, RTP is administered at the federal level by Federal Highways Administration, and then the projects are administered by Caltrans and the California Department of Parks and Rec. And then we have OGALS, which is the Office of Local Services. Get you all used to our acronyms. And Off-Highway Motor Vehicle Recreation Division. So next slide, please. Oh, we have a little typo there. All right. So the non-motorized selection process. I figured it's probably been a while since you all became familiar with our cycle and our process and how we do things. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of give you a background. I hit the wrong button. I knew Scott was new, so probably good for him to learn this. So OGALS, or the Office of Grants and Local Services, we announce our grant cycle And then we provide application workshops. And we actually do one-on-one technical assistance. We have project officers that are assigned to different counties. So applicants are more than welcome to call them and do one-on-one questions. Basically, you can look at checklist items such as your application form, your budget forms. Project officers cannot look at any kind of criteria. That's what you're scored on, but we can assist with everything else before anybody applies. Once the deadline comes through, then the applications go through a multi-level review process, and then those projects that rise to the top there and score the most and are most competitive are selected. But that's not the end. See, they are selected, but we're actually required to go through a post-selection federal requirements because FHW actually gets the final say on all our projects. So the post-selection federal requirements, we actually work in partnership with Caltrans to make sure that all of our applicants complete the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA. Now, they do CEQA before they apply. And CEQA, as probably most of you know, is actually more intensive than NEPA. So NEPA sometimes can go pretty quickly. Sometimes it's pretty slow. They also have to go through the completion of the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, which we call Section 106. And we also have to get projects listed on the State Transportation Improvement Plan, this STIP, or the Local Transportation Improvement Plan, just the TIP. And this should be noted, as I mentioned earlier, that applicants can't incur any kind of construction cost. They can't break ground or do anything until FHWA approves the project. That's extremely critical. So once we get through all the NEPA, all the environmentals, all the biologists have signed off on everything, we have our projects listed on the Transportation Improvement Plans list. Then we package everything up and send it over to Federal Highways. They review it and then they give us a thumbs up, and we get sent a contract from that. And then that's when we start our contract process with our now grantees. And how that works is we do a grantee administration workshop where we talk to them all about the exciting stuff of how to submit payments. It's very exciting, let me tell you. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Julianne, did you want to do this part and I'll do the others?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so this is going to be going over the 2023 competitive application cycle. In 2023, we had $6.7 million in funding available. We received 38 applications totaling $38.1 million in funding or funding request. And then 9 projects were selected in the 2023 application cycle. Since 1993, approximately 424 RTP non-motorized trails and facilities throughout California have been created or improved from $78 million in RTP funds and $45 million in matching funds. So here is an overview of the projects, the 9 projects that were selected. I will be going through each of these, so I'm not going to read them off the list right here, but just to give you a quick snapshot of what we're going to be looking at. So the first one is the Glendora Urban Trail System, Phase 2 and 3. This was with the City of Glendora in LA County. The grant amount was $1 million, and the project scope included constructing approximately 1.5 miles of multi-use trail, security gates, safety fencing, seating boulders, wayfinding, interpretive signage, monument signage, a bicycle repair station, and bike racks. And then the photos that are included are what the site looks like at the time of the application. And that'll be for all the photos that you are about to see for each of the projects. The next one we have is One Arroyo Trail Critical Connections Linkages Project. This is with the city of Pasadena and LA County as well. This is for $500,000. This project was to construct 2 multi-use trails and restore approximately 3.5 miles of multi-use trails, including stone terracing, footbridges, guardrails, stairs, boulders, trailheads, and benches. And again, these are photos that were taken at the time of application. Next, we have the Montgomery Woods Gathering Area and Visitor Amenities. This is with Save the Redwoods League in Mendocino County. The grant amount was $608,000. The project included constructing 534 feet of new trail with elevated walkways and gathering areas, and revegetating areas disturbed by social trails at Montgomery Woods State Natural Reserve. Next, we have the Laguna Grande Regional Park Trail. This is with the city of Seaside in Monterey County. The grant amount is $1,621,418. The project is to renovate and expand approximately 1.5 miles of multi-use trail with benches, interpretive signage, drinking fountains, trash and recycling receptacles, and shade structures. Next, we have the Riverview Sports Park Trail Connection. This is with the town of Truckee in Nevada County. The grant amount is $660,000. The project scope is to construct 900 linear feet of multi-use paved trail, educational signage, and a bike rack to form connections to Truckee River Legacy Trail, Jorger Ranch Trail, and the Riverview Sports Park. This is the Emerald Vista Trail Extension. This is with the city of Galt in Sacramento County. The grant amount is $413,000. This is to develop 1,500 linear feet of paved trail extending the Emerald Vista Trail in 2 sections. Next, we have the Lions Creek Trail. This is with the city of Gilroy in Santa Clara County. The grant amount is $200,000. The project scope is to construct a new 4,500 linear foot multi-use trail segment with educational signage and distance markers from Kern Avenue to Day Road. This is the Twin Peaks Promenade. This is with the city and county of San Francisco Recreation and Park District in the county of San Francisco. The grant amount is $1,493,692. This is to construct a new Twin Peaks Promenade combination asphalt multi-use aggregate 1,660 linear foot trail, which includes the overlook seating areas, educational and wayfinding signage, a paved parking area, and landscaping. And our last project for the 2023 selection was the U.S. Forest Service Shasta Trinity National Forest. This was the Gateway Phase 2 Trail Project, the Big Mountain Zone, they call it. This is in Siskiyou County, and the grant amount was for $200,890. And this will construct 2 miles of new multi-use trails at Mount Shasta. So I will go ahead and pass it back to Nikki. She'll be going over the updates for the 2022 non-motorized cycle.
Great. Thank you, Julianne. Great job there. So we usually kind of showcase a project that was completed this past year. We do not have any completed projects this past year. So I figured why not give you an update on the 2022 non-motorized cycle and let you know where things are at and how things are looking for those projects. So we currently have 5 projects in this post-selection federal requirement process from the 2022 cycle that we did, or the class of 2022, which I'm I often say. We only have one project currently awaiting FHWA approval, and I should note that the Glendora Trail, that was the first one Julianne presented, is actually with FHWA waiting approval at the moment. So we're well on our way for class of 23. Next slide, please. So currently with our administration side, we have 8 active non-motorized RTP projects, and these are all in various stages throughout the state here. Here is a quick list of their names, and I'm actually, Julianne put together some pictures for you, and we'll go over the scopes. So next slide, please. So the first trail that we have is the San Sylvain Trail, and segment 2 is what they're calling it, in the city of Fontana. And their scope was constructing about 1.25 mile long new paved multi-use trail with a bunch of amenities. And that was to go through the San Sylvain Channel between Pacific Electric and Land Empire Trail, connecting the trail to the street and to the cities of Fontana and Rancho Cucamonga. They actually are currently in their project status. They are just starting construction this May. And they are estimating to actually be completed this coming February. So we're very excited for that one. This has been quite the project because it was a collaboration between the two cities, but also Caltrans and going under bridges, and it was quite the feat. So we're very excited to finally see this one on its way. Next up, we have Azalea Hill Trail Restoration with the Marin Municipal Water District. They're constructing 6,400 linear feet of new multi-use trail. They have a new bridge, a retaining wall, a causeway, some armored rock crossings, a kiosk, and of course some signage there. Currently, the construction of the phase 3 retaining wall has been completed. And this is also great because they've had some setbacks because of the weather and the heavy rains that we had last year. And they're looking at completing this project in December. So we're really looking forward to that. And this project was one of the first ones I was a part of. So that was about 4 years ago. So we're well on our way of getting this one completed and getting the people on it.
Can I ask a question here before
Sure.
we go off of the slide? How did one project manage to get $6.4 million? That's the San Sylvain Trail. I mean, that sounds like it's more than that's more than there'd be in a year available.
Yeah, this actually has been around for a while. Oh, Richard, was that you?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that this has been kind of a culmination of adding funds to it. As originally, I think it was like about $1 or $2 million project.
Yeah.
But then as they got into more and more of the design of it, it was the issue with it was that there was more and more things that were unseen or not known about prior to them getting deeper into the design phase of it. So that kind of coupled with us not having a lot of open projects, and we had money that was due to expire. And so if we didn't put it to a project, that those funds would be lost to California. So with this, we added funds in like 2 years to help ensure that this project gets completed, but also preventing funds from leaving California. And during those 2 years, all of our active projects that experienced funding increases for their deliverables all got extra funding to be able to complete their projects.
Yep.
Well, that's you mentioned the key thing. If we didn't give it to them, we'd lose it. So, amen.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's good.
Hi, this is Mary Ann. I have a question on that same project.
Yeah.
It says that 1.25 mile new paved multi-use trail. So is there a different definition of multi-use? Does it include equestrian use?
Usually, multi-use, it can. I don't know if this area actually has equestrian use for it, because it's right smack dab in the middle of Rancho Cucamonga in Fontana. Generally, with this project, I want to say that most of the multi-use was pedestrian, bicycles, and a little off the side for runners and those types of things. I do not know, Nikki, do you know if there's equestrian use along? I don't think there is.
I don't think there is the moment,
Okay.
but this is a large regional trail.
Okay, because my
potential.
concern is the word multi-use, and we use multi-use to include, the pedestrian, equestrian, and mountain bike. So I'm a little confused why it would be used here with a new paved multi-use trail. As you know, equestrians don't use paved. So I was wondering if the term multi-use was not really appropriate for this.
Okay.
Or
Well,
if there's a different definition of it.
There could be a side section that's 4 or 5 feet wide next to the pavement, Mary Ann, I mean, I've seen that
Yes,
too.
that's what I was hoping, but it doesn't say that. It just says a new paved
Yeah.
multi-use trail.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, just wondering if, about the definition there.
Okay, yep. All right. All right. Thank you, Julianne. Next up, we have Shady Lane Trail. This was just recently funded. It's with the County of Los Angeles Department of Parks and Rec. It's a small trail, and it's connecting Loma Alta Park to the existing Loma Alta staging area within the city of Altadena. And this is going to have meandering multi-use with natural dirt trail with a trailhead, interpretive signage, trail access point bollards, retaining wall fencing, landscaping, and irrigation. And this currently, as I mentioned, it just got funded. It was part of our class of 22. So this contract was signed at the very end of 23. They are currently underway. We're expecting they're in their design process at the moment. So they've passed all the NEPA requirements. FHWA has approved it. So we're well on the way with that one. We have Sugarloaf Mountain Trail in Nevada City, and this was to construct approximately 1 mile of new trail and a parking lot within Nevada City. Currently, they have 1,500 feet of trail being constructed, and as you can see, there's folks working on it right now. So we've got some great photos from them. We could only use one, but we have some great ones from them. Next up, thank you. We have Bridge to Beach development with the East Bay Regional Park District, which may be a little familiar to some of you. This is to develop and extend the San Francisco Bay Trail in the city of Richmond, and they're constructing approximately 1.25 miles of trail along the shoreline between the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge and the Point Malate Beach Park. I know I probably pronounced that wrong. So currently they're in their pre-construction phase, but they are estimating to be completed in December of 2025. So a full year before it'll be completed, but that is excellent because this was another one that was about, it took a little while to get their NEPA done, but we're well on our way of getting this one constructed. And part of that huge trail, that San Francisco Bay Trail, is quite a trail. Next, we have the Harmon Canyon Trail development with the Ventura Land Trust, and they're constructing 5 miles of new multi-use rec trails within that Harmon Canyon Preserve in Ventura County. And trail construction actually started this April, and they are estimated to be complete in June of 2026. And this is quite a large scale project right now. And as you can see, that's quite the terrain that they're working in. So a lot of hands on deck for that one. Next slide, please. We have the lovely Taylor Mountain Trails in the county of Sonoma, and this was to construct 8 miles of multi-use trail. And that was to include bridges, interpretive signage, new trail access points from Taylor Mountain Regional Park, and the open space preserve that's near Santa Rosa. And so far, 90% of the trails have been constructed, and the trail bridge construction is underway. And they are looking to have this fully completed in November of 2024. As you can see in that picture, things have been quite muddy. The rains and torrential downpours we had last year really did a number on them. But they are bouncing back and getting things done. And we're really excited to see that one done. The Natural Parkland Trails development with the city of Highland. They're going to construct 2 miles of new trail, which will include the interpretive signage. Everybody likes interpretive signage. Some outdoor education presentation area, a culvert canyon crossing, and a trailhead with a parking lot, while also renovating about 10,450 linear feet of trail. And this project is also in its pre-construction phase, and they are looking to begin breaking ground this August and then have the project to be completed by this upcoming February. So we're looking forward to that. This is a newer one. It was part of the class of 22. So next up, this I've been extremely excited to tell you all about. Julianne and I and our team are currently starting to work on updating the Recreational Trails Program Application Guide, or as it's known currently, the Procedural Guide. So we are in the very beginning stages at the moment, but we will be looking at doing focus groups, most likely in the late fall, early winter. We would love to extend the invitation to all of you to be part of those focus groups and help us in the development of this new guide. The last update for our guide was in 2007. So we are in bad need of having this updated. A lot of things are outdated. There's new developments, there's new users. There's all sorts of new things going on, as you well know. And of course, I'll be working closely with not only Caltrans, but other trail groups. And of course, Noelle and her group, and getting feedback from things that you all are learning from your conferences. And then FHWA has been getting us updated as well on their requirements. So we're really looking forward to this very, very, very much needed update. And we're really excited. The process should take about a full year to do, as we do have to go through the Office of Administrative Law to make sure that we are not doing things we shouldn't. So we will keep you updated as things progress. And as, of course, we'd love for you all to join us on those focus groups. Your insight is extremely important to us. So we would appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for doing that. And yeah, as soon as you know when and where they're going to be, let us know.
Sure. And if any of you have any input or updates or anything you'd like to let me know about that you feel should be in there, go ahead and send me an email, or you can also email Julianne, or anything else that you feel we should be aware of, especially for non-motorized trails. There is our contact information, and we appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So then next up, I am going to pass it over to Matt and Ethan and Maddie that with our off-highway motorized vehicle recreation. They're going to give you some updates on their program with RTP.
All right. Thanks, Nikki, for giving us a detailed presentation, everything going on your end, and we'll do our part on our side over for the motorized. My name is Matt Wamond. I'm the compliance supervisor with the OHMBR Division Grants Unit. I help administer the RTP program for the OTR Division. Today, I'm joined by Ethan Mathis and Maddie Adams. Ethan was previously the primary point of contact for our RTP program, but I'm proud to say that he is now promoted. He's big time now. He's our grants administrator supervisor for our grants and cooperative agreements program. So he has just recently been promoted back in, I think it was late April or May, but the last couple months. And so we are now transitioning to our new coordinator, which is Maddie. So Maddie will be now taking over the responsibilities of the RTP program from that side. Next slide, please. So upcoming G24 recreational trails program for our grant cycle. So we anticipate offering our RTP grant cycle this upcoming fall with at least 2.9 million in available funds. Additionally, there's a possibility of increasing the amounts by 1.5 million from return funds from our fiscal year 22-23. We had 2 awarded projects that returned their RTP awards for just different kind of reasons, but it does look like from working with our accounting office that we will be able to disencumber those funds that were associated with those 2 projects and then re-encumber them for this upcoming year. So we have had a meeting since our last when we were planning to do the presentation. It does look pretty good. So we are anticipating getting that additional 1.5 that were allocated to a Tahoe project, and then California. It was I can't think of your name, the group, but I'm blanking on it. But the other one is the other project. So we end up getting those funds back. And the RTP grant cycle commenced with RTP workshops on August 27th of 2024. And the grant application cycle will begin September 3rd, 2024. And applicants will submit their RTP applications via our division's online grant application system. And Bruce, you're the other group that returned it back. So Bruce's group is the one that returned the funds back. It just wasn't able to work for the this year, but maybe down in the future. We anticipate a high volume of applications this upcoming grant cycle, given that our grants and cooperative agreements program for the G24 cycle for our operation and maintenance category, that category is what maintains our trails, is highly oversubscribed by $4.8 million this year. So we have a lot of competition coming in for those grants. The final awards for that program we post on September 5th, leaving many agencies, OHV programs without funding and in searching for alternative funding sources. So all those projects that aren't able to be awarded through our grants program, we will make sure they're aware of the RTP program and that the application cycle is very similar to them, and their application process has a lot of crossover between what they're writing. So they won't be starting from scratch. They can kind of build off of what they currently have. So we do anticipate a lot of competition for this RTP cycle. Final applications will be due October 18th, and then on December 9th, 2024, the division will make recommendations for funding. Next slide, please. All right, so the OHV RTP program currently has 5 active projects for a little over 1.9 million in RTP funding. Those agencies with active projects are Tahoe National Forest, and we have 2 projects that they currently have there. We have Friends of Jawbone, Southern California Mountains Foundation, and Plumas County. Today, we are going to highlight Plumas County and give you guys some update on that project and what's currently going on with them. Next slide, please. All right, so this is a development project. The total grant award for it was a little over $489,000. It was a construction of 20 miles of motorized multi-use single track trail with the Mount Huff trail system. Plumas County has been very active in developing the area for OHV recreational opportunities the past few years, with the goal of developing an OHV trail system to connect the small communities within the county. So they have a lot of trails going from one little town to the next little town, trying to get that OHV connectivity between the trail system. So this project is a part of that overall system that they're developing. The purple lines that you're seeing on your map are the 17 miles of trail being developed by OHV Grants Funds. So that's from our Grants and Cooperative Agreements program. And then they also came in for the grant through RTP, which is the red lines represent the trails that are being developed with the RTP funds. So they're piggybacking together. They're kind of figuring out the area and using different funding sources to develop that community connectivity they're looking for. Next slide, please. This is a map of the general area of where all these projects are going. So if you can look at Mount Huff is right smack dab. It's just north of Quincy in the middle of the Plumas National Forest. So the land manager of the area is Plumas National Forest. And then Plumas County comes in as a part of the just developing the overall system. They also come in for a grants program for us in regards to maintaining just the trails in Mount Huff and that general area, but they are building some connectivity from it. And next slide, please. So Plumas County has constructed and development of the trail system. Sierra Buttes Trail Stewardship is a nonprofit partner. They're the ones that are being contracted to develop the trails. SBTS is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has been around since about 2003 and done similar work with other agencies in the area. They work with the Tahoe National Forest, the Plumas National Forest, and the Lassen National Forest as well. So they have a good relationship with all the major partners in the area, and that's been really helpful for them in developing this trail system with connectivity to the communities, because it does cross over each one of those land manager areas. They do look to maintain and restore and enhance trails that are environmentally suitable and ecologically responsible manner. Over the next few slides, you're going to see the crew, the volunteers working on the project as they've been developing this trail. Next slide, please. So far, Sierra Buttes crew and volunteers have built 10 miles of new single track trails. Their project is approximately 54% complete at this point, and they do anticipate completing the project by the project performance end date, which is June 30th, 2025. The next few slides are going to be going over the before and after pictures of what the work that they have accomplished in the area. But as you see, a majority of their work is being done by hand, and their crews do a lot of work during the summer, even when it's hot. So they're out there right now plugging along, just doing their thing. So next slide, please. The process of constructing trails is not an easy one. They will be remove the brush from the tree corridor, doing it by hand with small heavy equipment that can be used in the areas where the trails are 18 inches wide at times. I've hiked these trails and I struggle just to stay on them just on my feet. So I'm always amazed when I hear about guys on motorcycles and I see them flying down the mountain and they're able to stay on these trails that are 18 inches wide. It is a lot of skill. This area has definitely a difficulty level to it in regards to the riders that are on it, but it's an awesome trail system. I know I've been on Downeyville a few times. They will establish back slope, install reverse grade dips and other drainage features. They also construct tread and define the critical edge. The contractor will also install signage while at the same time Forest Service and county best practices. This area does have multi-use in regards to mountain bikes and hiking, and is an area that's prevalent for that. These trails are developed for motorcycle use. That's what their primary function is. Signage is important, so it just informs different user types of what's going on and just the education that goes with rite of passage on the trails and such. But it's a very popular area. It's been growing a lot in the motorized and non-motorized recreation. Next slide, please.
I got a question here real quick. So this is something kind of new to me. I don't recall being exposed to these types of facilities before. And I'm just wondering if I was hiking on a trail that crossed this, that's not an OHV trail, would there be signage at that point saying don't walk on this because you'll get run over by a motorcycle, as you say, flying down the, I mean, what's the safety element, and are there absolute prohibitions against a pedestrian walking on those trails?
No, I mean, they're able to walk and hike on it. What you're going to see on the signs is entry trails usually have in their stickers letting the person who's using it know what type of trail that's designed for. So like you would see it would have a marker of motorcycle. And so you just want to make sure if you're going on that trail, that you're aware of what's kind of going on and that you need to make sure you're paying attention. That's a lot of the issues is usually people have earbuds and things in their ears where they're not being able to hear what's coming down. And so they're not hearing the motorcycle on the trail. But no, it has usually designations of what type of users are going to be on it so that you're informed as a a user that you're kind of going in that area. But yeah, they have it usually all entry points going in. The PCT is also very located over there. And so there's a lot of signage in regards to the PCT that says no motorized access or anything like that. So it's blocking off from there. But it does have a connection point around the Downieville system for both motorized and non-motorized, with the PCE kind of going in that area.
So
I
the
can-
OHV trails are not, they do not prohibit a pedestrian access. Is that right?
Correct. They're allowed to use it, but it's still, our funds are being developed. So when they come in for us, they're making it primarily to meet, they can't mention anything in regards to non-motorized. Like when they're telling us they're coming in for this application, it is 100% focused on the motorized community and developing it for motorized trails. We can't prohibit non-motorized from using it. And the truth is, they give us a lot of non-motorized, especially the mountain bike communities in that area, a lot of volunteer hours. And so it is a good partnership. It's utilizing our resources. They're the education, especially with Downieville, they do a good job of making sure that they explain to the bikers and mountain bikers the rite of passage for them. And so that if they're on the trails, how the priority uses is. And that's a part of, we've worked with the Tahoe National Forest, and it's been a big part of their education program is educating. They have hotspot checks in our program that have people out there making sure there's good communication.
I just want to explain too that every forest has what's called a motor vehicle use map. So if you're planning a trip to a forest, it's a really good idea to download that. You can use the Avenza app as well, and it will show you where the motor vehicle trails are. And again, OHV is non-street legal, so we're talking trails that either accommodate dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides with side-by-sides generally sticking on the four-wheel drive trails because they're just as wide as a average Jeep. But everyone should be prepared. Go out, know where you're going, and if you download the motor vehicle use map, you will see, be able to plan your trip and know when you're crossing. That said, I have seen more hikers on the Rubicon than I can tell you. There are approximately 25 to 30,000 people who motorized travel the Rubicon each year, and I see hikers all the time. There's never been a problem. There's never been a complaint. Everybody's pretty nice about it. They share food, water, point out where the restrooms are. So it's not really an issue unless we make it an issue. And as far as mountain bike and dirt bike sharing trails, we're seeing more and more of it. There's no reason why not. There's exactly the same maintenance, management of these trails, the same type of trails, especially with the advent of e-bikes. It's very little differentiation between an e-bike and some dirt bikes. We have a limited amount of land, so sharing the trails that we do have just makes sense for everybody as long as we have that etiquette. And the mountain bike community actually started a blog sort of called Trails Are Common Ground. And it's a really good premise to understand that we all use trails and we all should use trails cooperatively.
Oh, that's great. I appreciate the enlightenment. And like I said, this committee is such an educational experience that I appreciate that. I'm looking at completed trail, the completed trail image there, and I see a berm on the outside. Is that a good design for a trail that's going down a hill?
That might be going uphill too, so that might be just the design of the trail. It might be going up. We from that picture, I'm not sure if it's going up or down. But like what they're doing is they're definitely trying to do the natural contours just of the land itself, and so they try to do a lot of flow within the trails to prevent speed. And so they'll have some little curves and little bends within there just to try to prevent the motorcycles getting too much speed as they go along through. I know they do use berms on, especially on hard turns, in regards to making sure that they're getting some bank around that turn so they don't go flying off the edge. But yeah, they do try to do as much flow as they can, and that's Sierra Butte is kind of Tahoe works with them and making sure they're educating them on just, hey, we want to make flow between the areas. We don't want to try to remove the trees. As you see, they're kind of bending along there. They do their best they can to just kind of work with the land that they have and making sure that they're getting ecologically friendly trails that are not going to cause too much soil erosion as they're moving along through it. So
I don't know. It just looks like you're making a canal there. You know, unless that's flat, that's not the way we would build a hiking trail.
Yeah,
They
I would
do.
guess
Anyway,
that's
just
not
just a
totally
comment.
finished, John.
I don't know much about this, but that
Yeah.
doesn't look right to me. It looks like Scott is gonna tell me how screwed up I am here.
No, I would guess that that's not totally finished. Looking at it, I think it's maybe the field dozer or a mini excavator has gone through there and it's ready for some handwork. And I would expect that outside edge would be wouldn't have a berm sitting there like that, and a berm
Good point.
support would look a bit different. So
now that you mention it, looks like a machine went through there, and that's always the first part of it. I see that. And then Bruce.
Yeah, that jumped out at me also, because as a general rule, you want at least a 4-degree outslope so the trail will drain naturally. And you can have nicks in the berms. There's different ways. If you got a rolling dip, you know, you may have a drainage outlet there that breaks the berm. The berm normally will build up with use over time as you get tread wear. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to keep in mind when you're doing maintenance that this is something that the water control really needs to be addressed. And I would agree that that looks like a freshly built trail where they're going to go back and do a lot of hand finishing. That's not, it says completed trail. I don't really think it's done. If you were to ask the constructors, they probably would be very quick to point that out. But thank you, because that's a good point.
Nearly completed trail. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that looks great though. Looks like a great place to, do the sport.
I wanted to reinforce some of the comments Amy made. My experience up in the Mount Huff area, it's been a few years, but mountain bikes and motos were able to get along well there. And I think you can take a look at the trails and see which user groups are using them more. And I think there's some self-selection happens. And when there is an inventory of trails to choose from, it allows user groups to disperse. And I think the work that Sierra Butte Trail Stewardship does in the connected communities area, so Mount Huff, Downeyville, is very accommodating for the multiple user groups you're trying to serve there as well. Additionally, I also see the Trails Are Common Ground as a very good educational platform that's being used on a national scale, and I think we're growing. So I think trying to support that is a good effort. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. You guys are adding so much wonderful information to our presentation, so I thank you. And then, so next slide, please. And so this is an area that you can see was before where there was no trail there, and now they're working on building it there. This area was hit heavily with fire a few years ago. Actually, they had 2 fires in the area, so they're having a big problem. And just it used to have all these wonderful trees, and now they're having a lot of tree fall continuously in that area. That we're seeing that a lot on just our ground ops grant, but they're working through it and they're building the trail to have that connectivity through it. I know a lot of what happens when fire does, if you guys, with our program, we do give a lot of flexibility with a fire that does hit. So with RTP or our grants and agreements, when a fire does hit, the first goal is to reestablish the trail and build it back up. And an RTP program, we do have flexibility to add funds to a project. So this would be an example if they needed additional funding because of damage they didn't anticipate from the fire. If we had funds available, we could reallocate to them to help them in getting it back constructed to what the project was going to be or anticipating. There could be maybe a variation in what they were doing on the long term in regards to where the trail was going to go to where they might build it now from fire damage. But that's something that we do work with them, with the grantee. We make sure they're aware that it's just communication. Let us know what's going on, what you need to see, and how this project is going to become, because they write the application 2 years ago and they're finishing it in 25. A lot of stuff can happen during that time. So this is an area you can see they're working through. Right now, they don't seem to be bringing up anything. We do have an additional request. They have requested additional funding just for charges that they weren't kind of anticipating. So we do anticipate getting about another $100,000 to this project from funds that we do have available and that is currently being approved by Federal Highways. So that was something that they just reached out to us for. But no, they're working along, and we've been excited to see it. So next slide, please. All right, that is our presentation on that. If you have any questions just about what we have going on for the motorized side, the same thing. Our application process is just like what Nikki talked about. We use the same procedural guide. So we're going to go through that starting in beginning September. So we're excited to see what applications that we get this year. And we're definitely excited about the cycle just because we know that the funding has been a little tight on our other programs. So it's nice that we have this we've been banking money for a big year. And so we're coming up towards it. So it'll be cool to see what we get.
All right, thank you.
Pass it over to you, Nikki.
Desiree, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and control the slides from my end.
If you need me to share, I can do that as well because I also have your document to share today.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and. There we go. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Desiree Fox, and I'm an ATP program manager at headquarters, Caltrans headquarters in the Division of Local Assistance. And I'm also joined today with my coworker, colleague, Alfred Sarker. Okay. So just to give you a little background on the Active Transportation Program, the program was established in 2013, and we fund all types of active transportation projects from bike lanes to sidewalks to trails, all to encourage people to use active modes of transportation instead of using motorized forms. And this is a combination, so we use a combination of federal funds and state funds. And the federal funds you can see here are in blue and the state funds are in green. The federal funds were a combination of the old transportation enhancements, bicycle transportation account, and safe routes to school funding that are all combined into the Transportation Alternatives Program, also known as the Transportation Alternatives Set Aside. And the state fund sources come from the state highway account and the 2017 gas tax from Senate Bill 1, also known as the road maintenance and rehabilitation account. And we get about $280 million per year to fund active transportation projects in a normal year. With a surplus, we could end up getting an augmentation. So in our previous cycle, in cycle 6, we received a $1 billion augmentation. And with the deficit, they are looking at taking funds away. So for cycle 7, they will be taking away about $400 million. And the cycle 7 application period just closed on June 17th. But for recreational trails, you can see it accounts for about $2.3 million of all of our fund sources. And we have a cycle every 2 years. So we work with the California Transportation Commission to fund about $560 million in projects. And these funds have increased over the years, and some of the fund sources, except for recreational trails, but the need is still great. So because we always get requests that are far above the amount that we have. So we're just going to give you a summary of some of the recreational trail projects that are in the Active Transportation Program. So the first column here shows the different cycles that we had. The second column shows the number of eligible recreational trail eligible projects that were submitted. The next slide shows the number of eligible projects that were funded. And the next slide shows the number of, the next column shows the number of projects that were actually given recreational trail funds. And the next column shows the number of projects that were completed. And then you can see the amount of recreational trail funds that were actually obligated for each cycle so far. And those are in the thousands. And so with the Caltrans share, of course, we get 40% of the annual apportionment. And this is how much we've received in the last 12 years since the Active Transportation Program has been around. And we've obligated a little bit more than our fair share. So we'll be making sure to give that share back to parks in the next apportionment. That was an accident. And then with this program, there have been about 56 miles of trail proposed, and 27 miles have been completed. And there's a lot on this slide, but just note that this is a list of recreational trail projects that are in our program in the first 2 cycles. And the highlighted projects, the ones that are highlighted in green, are the projects that received recreational trail funds. And as you can see, all of these projects have been completed, except for the one project that was canceled in San Diego. And this, again, is the list of projects that were selected in cycles 3 through 5. Again, the projects that are highlighted in green are funded with recreational trail projects. Most of these projects are in construction. One has been completed and another one is in design. As you can see, we're trending with less projects through the cycles. The process has become more competitive. Given that we're a transportation agency, the goals of the program reflect that. So the recreational trails have to compete with the other project types that are encouraging a mode shift to encourage folks to travel to destinations using active modes. And then we're also funding less projects because the projects are getting bigger and the costs are increasing. And then this is the cycle 6 project list of projects that were eligible for recreational trails. This is our last completed cycle. The cycle 7 application deadline was June 17th. And these projects the cycle 7 projects need to go through the evaluation process to later be funded in December this year. And another set of projects will be funded by the metropolitan planning organizations by June of 2025. And these projects may receive RTP funding in the future based on the availability and when they're ready to obligate their federal funds. And just want to highlight there, yes, you are seeing an $84 million project that was funded. The Active Transportation Program is funding about $67 million of that project. It's a huge project out in Santa Cruz County. Some of our challenges is that the program is oversubscribed. So as I mentioned before, the funds requested from the application period always exceed the available funds. The RTP funds also need to be obligated before the funds will lapse, and the projects need to be eligible for the funds, and they also need to be ready to obligate during that 4-year period that the funds are available. So, and then we also have many competing fund sources. So we're also constantly trying to use each of the different fund sources to make sure that, they don't lapse or that they're not just sitting there. So it'll end up looking like we don't need them. And then also one of our challenges is proper coordination with parks. So we just have to make sure that we manage the sharing of the funds properly. Next, I'm going to show a picture of completed projects. Only one of the projects that I'm going to show has used RTP funds, and the others were using just active transportation funding. And this is the only one that's been completed, that has completed construction since the last time we presented. So this project was not funded using RTP. This is the Paris Valley Storm Drain Channel Trail Project. It's from Cycle 1 in the city of Paris in Riverside County. It's about 4.3 miles, and the total cost was $3.83 million. The active transportation program funded about $1.2 million. This is another project. This was not funded using RTP funds, but this is the Trout Creek Trail Project Phase 2. And it's another Cycle 1 project from the town of Truckee in Nevada County. It's about 3/4 of a mile. This is mainly a bike ped bridge. Total project cost is $2.3 million, and the active transportation program funded $1.5 million. This project was funded with RTP funds. It was in construction the last time we presented at this meeting. This is a Whittier Greenway Trail East Extension Gap Closure Project from Cycle 2 in the city of Whittier in Los Angeles County. It's about 2.8 miles, and it's the trail is on the left side of the railroad tracks, runs adjacent. And its total cost was $5.3 million. Active transportation program funded about $4.5 million, but we used, of that $4.5 million, $4.2 million was of recreational trail funds. And then this project was not funded by RTP. It's the San Francisco Bay Trail Pinole Shores to Bayfront Park project. It's a Cycle 1 project done by the East Bay Regional Park District. You guys may be familiar, in the city of Pinole in the Bay Area in Contra Costa County. It's a 1/2 mile bike ped bridge, if you can see it in the distance there, crossing the railroad tracks. And total cost was $7.1 million, and the active transportation program funded $4 million of that project. And that's all I have.
I had a couple questions.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, let's go with the questions.
How does this RTP funding differ from the non-motorized update that this started out with? Is this a different funding source?
It's the same funding source, but Caltrans gets 40% by statute.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other 60% goes to parks, and then they split their funds between motorized and non-motorized.
The second part then is, so this is an application to the ATP, or, okay. And
Yeah.
then what are the criteria for a project to qualify for the RTP funds under ATP?
Yeah, so the recreational trail funds all compete together with all of the different fund sources, with all of the different project types, sorry. And then once those projects score high enough, if there is a recreational trail project that scores high enough, then those projects will be funded. And then ultimately, if those projects are ready to come in for their project requests, and we also have recreational trail funds available, then that's when we'll give them recreational trail funds.
Is it a separate application?
No,
okay.
it's the same.
It's just a separate opportunity to fund if they score high enough, whether it comes from the non-motorized direct RTP or whether it comes out of the 40% that gets allocated to ATP.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question, and it's kind of for everybody. It goes back to a previous meeting where we found out that RTP funds can't be used for e-bikes or travel. So, but my question is more, once you build the bike lanes and how do you keep e-bikes off, or is it just a don't ask, don't tell kind of scenario?
Thank you, Amy. It's bike lanes that are on a street are not eligible for rec trails, so it makes it a little bit easier for that. For like class 1 trails that have rec trails funding in it, they are e-bikes are precluded from being designated on there. The whole thing about enforcement is, it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of a nebulous area, like where, I don't know what the enforcement would be like on that, other than just stating on signage that says that e-bikes are not allowed. I don't know about every city or landowner who is going to be able to enforce that, strictly.
Yeah, I was wondering how that would be done too, because I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
But I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before in the meeting, hearing that prohibition and kind of wondering how is this going to work. There were more issues seemingly between hikers and e-bikes than between hikers and motorcycles, basically because you can hear the dirt bikes coming. I wonder whether signs that say, in whether it would apply for class 1, class 2, or class 3 seems to be very complicated. So I was just curious how the different applicants were dealing with it. Right.
Yeah, because I know I've heard from various people who hike on single track trails, and there's constant conflict on U.S. Forest Service land between e-bikes and hikers. But it's like such a wide swath of land to try to manage and enforce those laws, and I don't know, if it's even feasible right now to be able to do that.
Yeah,
it isn't. I'm sorry, Desiree.
No, it's fine. Yeah, we've run into the same issues as well as far as enforcement or just the ability to think about what that would look like. And then we also have either innovation or legislation that has come forward where they are pushing for the use or for the creation of bike highways. So, if you would imagine what that would look like, of course, that would be something that's very long and that's going to create connections for a long distance. And the thought of that a lot of times is that may not be feasible without an e-bike. So yeah, it's interesting how what that is going to look like in the future. We're just not sure just yet. Okay, I'm passing it back to Nikki.
Yeah, I think Nikki had to step away for a second. So I guess our next update is for Noelle and Sammy, the strategic planning.
Hi, everyone. Good morning again. Thanks, Richard. I feel like I should have put together a presentation because everyone's been amazing this morning, but my little bit is going to be pretty quick. But I just want to provide an update on our recreational trails plan. Richard and Nikki asked us to do that for this group. Some of you who were at California Trails and Greenways are aware that we had a session this year about the recreational trails plan to just kind of get some good ideas from folks. Right now, we are in the process of looking at our statewide goals for our plan. I'm actually going to put in the chat a link to the plan itself. So you can go ahead and take a look at it, take a look at the goals, and let us know if you have any suggestions. We're looking at what our existing goals are. There is about 12 of them. Do they still make sense? Do we need new goals looking for the future? let me take a step back. I just realized I should provide a little bit more update about what the recreational trails plan is for anyone who isn't really sure. So the recreational trails plan is a guide that's produced by California State Parks. It's meant to be a user guide for California agencies, recreational providers that manage trails. This plan provides information on benefits of trails, how to acquire funding, things like effective stewardship, and then also cooperation among different trail users. This is something we've been talking about just today. So this is meant to be kind of just a way to give some advice, tidbits, technical assistance, if you will, to other agencies to be able to just provide good trail opportunities. The Recreational Trails Plan is authorized as a part of the Recreational Trails Act. And so it's something that we've been updating periodically, but honestly, the last update to this plan was in like 2000. It's been quite a long time, and we recognize how critical it is to update these goals because so much has changed. So much has changed just the last 5 years, but the pandemic changed so much. So we recognize why this is really important to make some updates to right now. So again, as I mentioned, we are looking right now specifically at the goals that are listed in the plan because, right, some things are different. We recognize that there's new elements that we're working with. And so we're really looking to our trails community to be able to provide us with, this is what we're facing. This is what we're thinking about. Something that's really become prevalent is not the rise of, that's not quite the right term, but the fact that we utilize so many partnerships now, in that how to work with our partners better, how to really utilize them, and what they're capable of, and maybe the less hurdles that they have to jump through than like government agencies have to jump through. And so that's something that I think we're really want to explore as well in this plan. So that's kind of where we are. Again, we are also taking suggestions for adding to our regional like corridor map. So our large trail corridors we have on a statewide map. We're looking to add more. It has to be a trail that's at least 50 miles long. Doesn't have to be 50 miles right now, but is planned to be 50 miles in the future. Maybe there's only some of it that's ready to go right now. It has to be like a corridor, a connector to communities, and in a way for people to be able to go on these kind of long distance routes. So we're looking for those suggestions as well to add into our plan. So this year, Sammy and I are going to hit the road and start having a lot of different stakeholder meetings and really trying to hone in on some good information. We started working on this last year. Last year was a bit crazy, and obviously there's been budget constraints. And so we're really trying to focus in this year and get through a lot of our research so we can start building our plan. And so if you have suggestions on the Recreational Trails Plan website, there is actually a link to like a survey that you can take and kind of put in some information. You're also more than welcome to email me, or you can email our Trails email address, which is trails@parks.ca.gov, which I will also put in the chat. And that comes right to me. And so then that way, if you have some ideas, feel free to send them our way. I think that's it. That was a lot of information I just downloaded onto y'all. Do you have any questions? No? Perfect. I think that I am then ready to hand it back over to Richard.
Okay. Thank you, Noelle. So I guess I can go ahead and turn it back over to John since we're into the individual board member updates. John?
Yes. So at this point, if anybody wants to fill us in on what you've been up to or anything we should know about, now is the time. So I guess we'll do a hands raised kind of thing here, and I'll call on you if you want to do that. All right, Bruce, go for it.
Yes, as was mentioned, we actually we're not able to move forward with our project. And maybe this will provide a little bit of feedback to those, from the OHMVR who are handling RTP grants. We got through the first round of approval by applying with a project that we thought was NEPA ready, and that we had a current decision memo and a trail that had been all through the Forest Service approval process, and used that documentation to get through the first round. When we got over to the federal highways side and Caltrans, it got more complicated. And our NEPA by that time had become stale because it was about 5 years old. So they wanted new studies done, which really wasn't a problem. We could have pulled that off. But this project was something of a last ditch effort to fund a project we had really wanted to do, but we had not done some of the preliminary investigational work we probably would have done had we known how things were going to go. So when the Caltrans requirements forced us to actually go out and ground truth our route that was nothing more really than a sketch on a map and a hypothetical idea. It had been approved through the NEPA process. When we got out there and took a look, there were some draws and things that were going to be very difficult. They were going to take retaining walls and things that would turn it into a fairly major project. Not only that, but there were some possible visual impacts that might surface as a problem. So there were just too many things kind of stacked against us. It probably would have been better if that had been identified earlier in the project, because we were working on this for up to a couple of years before we realized we're just not going to be able to move forward. So I'm just offering this as a suggestion that maybe asking a few more tough questions up front when the applications come in, might a little better screening, like, have you ground truth this project? You're really going to be able to do it. Things like that, might help the process along and make those who are eligible kind of avoid the funding getting held up by somebody else who has good intentions, but maybe hasn't been quite so diligent. So I'll just mention that. The challenge with doing this RTP process is it's extraordinarily difficult to get a federal agency to do any kind of NEPA approval for anything these days. I mean, for a while they were very stressed with lack of resource specialists. I think that's gotten better here recently. Whether that will remain the case, I just can't really say, because these things are always highly cyclical. But it's really tough when you can't even get to square one with getting your NEPA approval, whether it's NEPA or CEQA, like you say earlier. It was those are somewhat, to some degree, interchangeable. CEQA is usually harder. I mean, if you can get through the CEQA, you can probably get through the NEPA. But it's getting the resource specialist from the federal agency, if you're working on federal land, to actually sign off on this thing that really makes it so probably not as many people apply for RTP as for the regular OHV grants that we see. So just kind of throwing that out there. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Bruce. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, this is not RTP specific, but I just wanted to bring up that Assembly Concurrent Resolution 152 was passed by the State Senate and Assembly that recognized June 2024 as California Mountain Bike Month. So in a broader trail sense, this resolution got the idea of mountain biking and more broadly trails and the importance of trails and what they bring to our communities in front of these legislatures. So the resolution by itself doesn't bring any more funding or any more direct access, but it does help promote that trails conversation with key decision makers that can have an impact on funding. This may be an area for other user groups or trail advocates to work with decision makers at the state level or at the local level as well, to help build more broader support for trails.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Before I say anything, I just want to ask, are there any public on this meeting? And if there are, I would ask if there's any public comments on items not on the agenda. Can anybody back there in Sacramento tell?
Hi, John.
does-
I don't,
oh.
oops, sorry, Richard. I don't
No, go
believe
ahead,
we
Nikki.
have.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't believe we have any public. We do have some of my staff on the call.
Yeah.
It's probably some names you don't recognize, but no
Okay.
public that we know of.
All right, just wanted to give that opportunity. And then I also just want to say two things. One, the important one is, do we still have a vacancy on this committee?
We can add more people if we want. One that we don't seem to have since Bob left was somebody who from the accessibility
ADA.
portion of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Okay.
So if anybody
well,
has,
I would.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would just say this question was asked of me. Hey, do you know anybody? And I knew Scott, so there's Scott smiling at us right now. But I racked my brain for the ADA element. We really, Bob Coomber, is a super great representative. I mean, talk about the nexus of ADA folks and trails. He was it, So if anybody at all knows her, I don't, it doesn't matter where they live in California. We would love to hear about them and see if they are interested in joining this committee. There must be some folks out there. So I can't think of anybody myself, but this is a good time to put it out there for all the rest of you, staff included, to come up with someone to fill it out. That would be really, really important. For all the time that I've been on this committee, there's generally, most of the time, there have been those representatives on this committee. So to not have it now is disappointing. Just one kind of general comment. With the whole business, the whole discussion earlier about the state trails plan. I've participated in that in the past. It's a great plan. But also from my agency, the East Bay Regional Park District, we are just getting started on embarking on an update to our district plan. We're calling it the Second Century Plan because we're now celebrating our 90th year of existence. So we are going to be getting into that big time, and we're going to be looking for people in Alameda and Contra Costa County to weigh in on what they think is important. What should we be putting our attention to and prioritizing? So just throwing that out. 2025, probably into 2026 is when we'll be working on that. But it's interesting to have these two big giant trail plans going at the same time. So if there's yes, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, well, okay, thanks. It's been a while since we've met in person. But I think the last time we did meet in person, I had my service dog with me because I am disabled. People in the OHMVR division know that. It's a different type of disability. The last time I was in a wheelchair was actually 2021, so it wasn't that long ago. But it was during the pandemic, so a lot of people actually didn't see it then. But you don't ever forget, because lack of access and lack of ability to go places. And Bob is much braver than I ever was in a wheelchair. I couldn't ever do what he's done. He's amazing. And give him a lot of credibility. But part of why I am an advocate and why I fight so hard to get accessibility open to motorized vehicles or for the myriad of disabled people who use some sort of motorized access to get to places, and all the places where we are locked out now and can no longer go. So I feel pretty strongly about disabled access, and because I've been there. I was just looking at my wheelchair and wondering after my last series of operations whether I will need it anymore. And that's sort of a milestone for me, to put it mildly.
Thank you for that input. So you know you are in a position to offer your insight as required and as needed. I am not a member of the ADA community, but I can tell you this, and I don't joke about this, but I'll just tell you that 20 years ago I had little kids and I had to push a stroller around, and that is sort of a really tiny little introduction into obstacles. You know, all the places, you know, you're pushing a stroller and all of a sudden there's 12 steps, you know, and you have to pick it up and carry it. So I started getting a little more of an advocate for curb cuts, for instance, very simple thing, and ramps and stuff like that. And in that time, I've seen a lot of progress being made, at least in my area, in my city particularly. But you know, it's just one of those things where I had to go through a little change in my lifestyle to see, you know, whoa, this is really an issue. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And Scott, you had another thing you wanted to add in.
Just to reply, Bonnie Leskowitz participated on the Trail User Working Group, and she was bringing an ADA accessibility perspective. So if you are looking for somebody, she might be a possibility.
Can you send me her name, Scott, via email, and I'll sort of bring it around that way.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah, and then okay, so I did have one other thing that I wanted to throw out there, and that is, you know, Amy kind of reminded me about this. I forgot to mention it earlier. We've had a long string of remote meetings, and I really want next year to be in person. State parks people, I know it's a little harder for you to do it when we're all there, but there's a lot to be gained by that. You know, just, you know, the ability to go out to lunch afterwards is a great way for us all to kind of network with each other and talk a little bit less formally. So I'm putting a strong vote for meet in person next year, please.
Okay. Yes. Right. Duly noted, John and Amy and all the board members. I will look into it. You know, due to the budget deficit issues and stuff like that, we've had a freeze on state spending on travel. So that was the only reason why we had to kind of go back to this way. So let me look into it a little bit deeper, and I will see if we can set up an account through Rec Trails to see if we could at least get 80% of it paid.
Okay, no, I understand, you know, the limitations, and you know, I think we all do. And yeah, just if there's some way to get us back in, you know, maybe it's every other year or something we do it in person, but it'd be great if we could get the gang back together again.
Yes, that'd be nice. I miss those days.
Yeah, I know. All right. I don't think there's anything else on the agenda. Is that correct? Did I get that right?
So.
All right. So it's good seeing you all, hearing you all, interacting with you all, and I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 11:54. Thanks a lot to everybody.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for a great meeting.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
It's good to see all of you.
It's always great to see you guys.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.